I'm excited that Angie is here to talk about her SPC journey as she's been working with Phil and the team. We will be sending out the recording of this to everybody. So for people who are here or have to leave early, we'll definitely be getting the recording out. As you know, Applied Frameworks helps companies with profitable sustainability and generally how that applies in agile environments. And so SAFE is a really big part of what we do when we're thinking about sustainability. And that has to do with money, it has to do with people, it has to do with culture. And I know those are the things that Angie and Phil are going to get into. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Phil and Angie. And as you have questions, please put them into Q&A, because I'm going to go off camera and I'm going to be looking at the Q&A and I'm going to be making sure that we have time for Angie and Phil to talk about some of the questions that you may have coming up. So I will turn it over to Phil and I'll be looking at the Q&A. And again, thank you so much, Angie, for joining us.
Thanks, Laura, of course.
Yeah, so everybody, thanks again, Laura. So this is I believe, our 6th installment of this SPC Journey series. And it started out as just kind of a reminder to everybody that getting an SPC is kind of the start of your journey, not the end. And it's evolved into almost kind of an interview show where we get a wonderful guest like Angie and just kind of pick their brain on what they've learned. An SPC is somebody that, has gone through the Implementing SAFE class, they've passed an exam, and they basically are ready to go. That combined with their unique skills, experiences, their attributes, all those things allow them to fulfill a variety of roles and help with, as Laura mentioned, sustainable profitability at their enterprise or, accomplishing that mission on a government program. So from our, the way we'll run this today is basically just kind of have a series of conversations. Feel free to use the Q&A function if you do have a question. Angie and I both can see that and we'll do our best to answer as we go. However, we'll have time at the end just where you can pick my brain or better yet, pick Angie's brain. So with that said, Angie is, she works for the CIO for Arkansas Blue Cross and Blue Shield. She's a polymath with diverse professional experience. She holds a bachelor's degree in biology and a master's degree in educational leadership. So she's been in the classroom, the real classroom, not the easy classroom of teaching SAFE, although I think that's coming up on Monday for her. Maybe she'll share a little about that. Over the past 30 years, she's been educating bright young minds, assisting physicians to conduct research studies, developing leadership skills, and most currently driving execution of the CIO strategy. Part of that is her role as an SPC leading the transformation for Arkansas Blue Cross Blue Shield. When she's not acting as a driver of innovation and change, she can be found outside swimming, biking, and running. I'll tell you that when I do talk to Angie and she's told me that she just did the Ironman, it's like, whoa, okay, I'm looking around my soft middle thinking I need to hop on my bike a little bit more. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Phil Gardner. I've been involved in SAFE for a decade this year, which is kind of crazy to me. And I'm just happy and honored and humbled to kind of host new SPCs on here. This series is designed for individuals that are an SPC at whatever point in their journey or even an SPCT, as well as those that might choose to hire them, partner with them, work with them, learn from them, teach them, whatever. So with that said, Angie, any opening words for you, or we can get right into our topics?
Well, just thank you for having me. And when you say pick my brain, you may have to pick deep.
Well, yeah, I know that as a leader of a transformation, you can get spread pretty thin sometimes. There's SPCs I know that focus on the classroom, and you're definitely not one of those. Let's talk a little bit about your experience moving from, what if we were doing this, right? I met you, I think, gosh, 8-9 months ago in an implementing class. I wasn't actually teaching it, but I stopped by to check out the parking lot. And you were just thinking about this. What was going through your head at that point in time after taking Implementing SAFE?
Yeah, well, I will say in your opening remarks, Phil, when you talked about, go through the training, take the exam, you're an SPC, you're ready to go. I would say no. You're not ready to go, so to speak. Just drawing on my past experiences, just just when I earned my master's and my licensure to be a principal, no way would I be ready to step into that principal's office. So same sort of thing in terms of really reaching out and partnering with you folks at Applied Frameworks to help walk this journey with us has been just really valuable. You know, the what if they have been talking about, you know, implementing agile ways of working here since before I was employed here, before my boss was employed here. He and I are fairly new to the organization. And so when he brought this up that we want to do this, it's like how we've talked around this for so many years, and now it's time to put it into action. So that was the charge I was given, is to jump in with both feet and forge forward. So yeah, it's first I've got to learn about it, and then kind of you become a salesperson of sorts, right? And you need to be able to communicate the WIFM, the what's in it for me, to gain momentum around the change, because it's a change.
Well, and as somebody who, you know, is looking at leading a change as a transformation, you know, you work for the CIO. You know, other people may be starting at a different point in the journey, right? They're a scrum master on a team and they get their SPC. What are some of the challenges that you've had to overcome? Kind of going from that, okay, I've been through the class, now we need to actually do it, right? What are some of those challenges you've overcome? Any advice for individuals in the audience?
Yeah, some of the challenges, you know, there are many, right? There are many challenges. So when you, our organization is what I would call a very legacy-based organization. We've had people who have worked here for 30 years, and really trying to message that there are benefits from the change. So I would say, you know, approaching those challenges is really, really important, to meet people where they are. Allow them time to digest, allow them the time to reflect, be very proactive. And what I have shared over and over with the folks who are experiencing the pain points is really to be flexible and embrace the suck, because there is going to be some suck. So embrace the suck. I'm reminded of Tony Robbins has a quote, the only impossible journey is the one you never begin. And change is inevitable, and pain is ever present when you're making a change. So embrace the suck.
You know, having seen you in action, I know that, you know, there's something they don't cover in implementing SAFe, or any, you know, SAFe specific class is, you know, kind of executive whispering, specifically senior execs. We have a question from the audience here. What's made you personally successful in engaging senior leadership support for your transformation? Because I know that, you know, you do have a partner involved, and it's not pro bono for us. So
yeah, I am, you know, I'm in I don't know if it's a unique situation. I call it a really great situation. In my boss is the senior VP, and so this is his vision. So already at that level, we have support. And what I have personally done is look for opportunities to just engage in conversation about the benefits, right? So one of my superpowers, I tell people, is building relationships. It's really important to me to be able to build relationships, authentic relationships with folks. So it doesn't sound like you're just asking for something when you need it. For example, one specific instance, we had a leadership forum where all the leaders came together for 2 days of retreat type, you know, activities. And there was a social gathering the evening after the second day, and our our CEO happened to be in there, and he came over to me, and he said, I've heard your name, but I don't think we've ever really officially met. And so I introduced myself, and he asked the question, so what are you doing? And I'm like, wow, I'm engaged in this really exciting work. And I was able to talk to him about this new framework without getting into the weeds of all of the acronyms and all of the details, just very high level, and what it's going to do for our folks and what it's going to do for our customers. And he's like, sounds great. So looking for opportunities like that to just at a very high level have conversation about the framework and the benefits it brings to not only your customers, but to your staff as well. And I also think it's really important that you yourself believe in it and are able to speak, because I'm pretty transparent. My husband tells me all the time, ooh, nobody guesses what you're thinking. So when I get just exuberant and excited when I talk about this, people feel that, and they feel that energy, and they're like, ooh, this might be something really good.
Well, I think that energy and that evangelism is important. It's interesting. I didn't hear you mention, getting your senior execs to go through Leading Safe, right? In the implementing class, currently it talks about this 3-minute pitch and get everybody through 2-day Leading Safe. How did you get that executive engagement going? You didn't bring them through Leading Safe. How did you mentioned earlier, without getting down into the weeds, can you share with the audience some techniques or how you approached that right amount of information? Is it all about SAFE, or is it you have a different mission for leading this transformation?
Yeah. So, I mean, you will learn, right, the tipping point. And so if you leverage that tipping point, and we have a particular customer that is very important to our business, and we needed to improve some of our processes around serving that customer. And so when we made that the primary focus of, starting the transformation, people paid attention, like, oh my gosh, yes, if we can make this customer happy and accelerate their happiness, this is worth a try, right? And as we grew through the process of identifying the value stream and our team of teams, just excitement and momentum built. And so, yeah, we were very creative around getting the right amount of information to the right people, right? So we've got constant firefighting going on here all the way up to the executive level. And so some folks, we offered a 4-hour executive workshop, just a high level, let's get you understanding what this is all about and what it can do for us. And then other people went through the 2-day Leading Safe. So, that I spoke earlier about being flexible, really just being flexible and nimble about what works for you and meeting people where they are, right? So there's the roadmap. And if you try to force everybody into that roadmap, my opinion is you're going to create more abrasion and less success traveling down that road.
Great point there. We have another question here, and I want to frame it up, just kind of follow your journey a little bit, and we'll end today talking about your first art launch. That was actually last week.
Last week feels like
it had a few challenges.
My word!
we'll get to that in just a moment. But the question here was, what was the team's reaction to your executive leadership's support? Did the teams feel it was genuine? How powerful was that? I'd like you to maybe start with describing for the audience here the value stream and art identification workshop that you did, because I think that there's some that's where I personally observed a little bit of executive, I would call it more than support. It was engagement. How long did your boss and the business exec on the business side, the business owner, how long did they stay in the value stream workshop? Did they just stop by to say hi? I can't recall.
you know what, Phil, I'll even go one step before the value stream workshop, as we trained the people who were coming to that workshop in Leading Safe. The two VPs involved sent out emails to all of those people saying, we are so excited about what you're going to learn. We got a snippet in the executive workshop, and quite honestly, we're a little envious of you getting to do 2 days worth of learning about this. This is really important, and we support you attending this. So that came from the VP level. And then when we did the value stream identification workshop, added my boss as optional as the senior VP, the chief information officer. He was there the entire time. He came that morning, he stayed the entire time, he engaged in all the activities. Our VPs were there the entire time. So yeah, we've had fantastic support. As individuals start to, and do they feel that people feel it's genuine? Absolutely. As individuals have started to earn their certifications, we post that as a celebration, and those VPs and the SVP, the CIO, will send an email. Great job. Keep it up. Keep up the great work. This is great. When we've had trainings, they will stop in at the end of the training to thank the people for their commitment and taking the time to embrace this new way of working.
Awesome. And then they were, fast forward to your art launch, your business owner, right? Oftentimes we hear about people, having difficulty getting the business involved in SAFE and an implementation. It's pulling teeth to try and get the business owner exec to come by and listen to a team readout. How long was the spoiler alert? How long was the business owner there?
Our business owner, who is a VP, was there for the entire 2 days, all day, 2 days, and jumped into, well, we had, so spoiler alert, this is pack your tap shoes, right? So we had planned, our Safe for Teams for 2 days, and then the 2 days of PI planning, all in person, had everything arranged, and then an ice storm hit us. So after the first day, we had to pivot to online, and much credit to the Applied Frameworks team for, wow, working really hard to get that into a virtual format. Was fantastic. But our business owner jumped into the breakout rooms and answered questions, and provided information, provided guidance. My boss, the CIO, was there for quite a bit of a time, listening in, and another VP in the IS area was there at the entire 2 days as well.
Thanks, Angie. We have another question here. Once you started the journey, what are the ways to sustain and enhance your journey? So how are you keeping up the momentum? And I know that that was last, I think, in December was the executive workshop, the first Leading Safe. Your art launch was the last week of January. How did you keep the momentum up through January over the holidays, and how are you keeping it up now?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, because we are so early in our journey. And I will say again that we are so fortunate to have highly engaged executives. They talk about this in their meetings and how fantastic it is. And so I have had other areas of the business now knocking on my door saying, hey, we want to learn about this. We want to start working this way. Yesterday was a big staff meeting of 2 areas, and we provided an update. So any opportunities that you can to continue to inform people. Our senior leadership team meets once a month, and so I provide updates to my boss to share in those meetings. As a matter of fact, this is very timely. I'm going to read to you a text I got from another area of the business after that meeting yesterday. And it said, wanted to let you know that since the morning meeting, I've heard nothing but yups and ahas about how enlightening and valuable your session was last week. No joke. People were amazed to hear from the executive. And I think that says a lot. So well done. Can't wait for a new chapter and to be a part of what you're building.
That's exciting. That's
Mhm.
exciting. You know, I know that a couple other things we have to talk about here. One thing I want to throw out there, just really just a side note, right? So not everybody in our audience has the ability to bring in a partner, right? And when I teach implementing SAFE, you know, one of the last things parting advice I give to our soon-to-be SPCs is find your people, right? If you have, you know, if you want to accelerate your journey and get sustainability quicker, you know, find a partner that'll join you on your journey. But there's, you know, there's meetup communities and all sorts of other ways. What was anything you can share regarding, you know, how you chose the right people and partners? What advice you might have for people as to what to look for, not necessarily who, but what traits, what approaches, what mindsets do you look for in a partner would you recommend?
Yeah, what I really appreciated and what speaks to me is, again, it's not a cookie cutter roadmap, and SAFE is not a hard and fast etched in stone blueprint. It's how it's going to work in your organization, right? And also, you know, as a person who does all these crazy races, and I coach people to do those crazy races, that's what I'm looking for, is somebody to coach us so we can take that this way of working forward, not telling us what to do, but guiding us in what to do, and helping us to be self-sustainable.
Yeah, because what you know, you can't rely on consultants forever. Any specific traits that you look for? I know that, you know, even with our team, there's individuals that you may have clicked with more than others. You know, anything when you think about the journey you're on, which is really a legacy mindset in a lot of the company, and it's complicated. It's not just software development. There's a lot of stuff there, and some of it's really high stakes. What kind of traits do you look for, not only in partners, but also within the individuals that you're bringing into your team? Because your team's going to be growing, I imagine.
Yeah,
You got your first RTE now?
Yeah. I mean, truly, people, you know, and it's going to sound coined like I pulled it out of the content, but definitely somebody with a growth mindset, right? You have to be able to open your mind to the possibilities versus what could go wrong. And so people who are open-minded and, quite honestly, resilient, because like I said, you got to embrace the suck. And I tell people all the time, I mean, this is one of my coaching phrases, and I've used it with many of our folks involved in this. Growth only happens outside your comfort zone. So if you stay within your comfort zone, there's really no opportunity to grow and be better.
Yeah, and you know, that word resiliency, we do a lot of work where, you know, there's a question in chat right now. It's how do you convince business to get engaged in the SAFE Agile journey? We have struggles today. Technology is good, but how do you get business engaged? And I think about it, and for us, 90% of the time, business is there at the beginning. You know, anything you can share for that question regarding how you convinced you know, Marcus to get involved? Right?
Yeah, the WIFM, right? What's in it for you in terms of satisfying our customers? You know, what we're doing right now is creating some abrasion. So by doing this, we can have built-in quality. We can avoid those problems. I'm not going to say eliminate them, because when human beings are involved, you're always going to have mistakes. But how do we learn from them? How do we move forward? And be able to be transparent about it. And so that, I think, is, you know, showing the possibilities. What are the benefits? What are the benefits to our customers from your perspective, right? From your role.
I observed, you know, at your PI planning event, one of the things that I view as a leading indicator of your success was the business owner engagement. And you know, you spoke about transparency. And it was fun to watch as your business owner spent the entire team breakouts in with the different teams. And he made it around all the teams both days, asking clarifying questions about their PI objectives, being there to answer questions for them. And it was interesting. I saw a couple of times where there was some alignment. So no matter how hard product management tried, the message from the business and therefore from your customers that were trying to accelerate their happiness, that somehow in the telephone game to get that down to the teams, you lost the soul of it. And so it was really powerful to see, as an observer, it was very powerful to see that happening because, I remember Mike, who was serving as your RT this first time around, your business owner was asked a question. Well, why are you reading out on these team plans? Because I already know them all, right? And the answer is, well, the reason is we want everybody to know the plan, not just you. But it was cool to see that happen ahead of time. When you think about organizing around value, I want to stay true to our bullet points we want to touch here. One of the techniques that you implemented in your value stream workshop was not the way SAFE says to do it. You had, kind of really going in, you really kind of you thought a couple of these value streams, but there was the thought that it could be one big value stream. I think there was like 60 people in your value stream workshop, and you broke them down into small groups tackling the same value stream. Mm-hmm. And then they came together and gave readouts. Anything you can share from that approach? Because I remember that's where I started seeing a lot of lights coming on, and I'll steal that. And that's where I remember Brett, your CIO, getting up and actually getting more involved.
Yeah. Well, the value in that was all the different perspectives. They didn't all look the same, right?
Right.
Based on who's doing the work and what area of the organization they were. Because we brought people from all over the organization to represent different areas, to represent those different perspectives. So when you broaden that scope of perception, you're going to be better informed on what the best construction of your art is. And quite honestly, again, that whole concept of remaining flexible, we're pretty sure we don't have the right construction right now, and that will morph over time. So being open and flexible to that as well. And that doesn't mean that the framework is failing and it's not working. It just means you're learning more and learning how to make it work better for you.
Another question from the audience here. Angie, what are some of the challenges or opportunities that you see in applying SAFE in a transition? So product management, portfolio management, DevOps?
Well, I can share just some of our challenges here. One of our hugest challenges that we have identified is our tooling. We've operated in silos for so long that we have multiple different tools that teams work into. And so that has been a real challenge for us and still remains a challenge after this launch. So that being said, being able to raise that challenge, have some discussion around it, now we're getting the right people to have the right conversations, right? Because if you don't have the visibility or the transparency about the challenges, you don't have much of an opportunity to try to solution the problem. Other challenges, I mean, like I said, legacy mentality. We've tried this, and along with legacy mentality is on the other end of that spectrum is maybe newer people who are like, I'm really excited, but I'm really cautious because what if this gets pulled away from us? What if all of a sudden they say, no, we're not going to do this anymore? Because I believe that has happened in the past with different initiatives. So really building that trust. And I think that's where, executive leadership being as supportive as they are is helping in that fashion.
Yeah, it's interesting. Tooling is a challenge, which creates a tough time doing some baseline metrics. We have a question from one of the audience. Keen to hear your insight on demonstrating value from the transformation journey to all levels of the organization, from the CEO to the coalface. Not sure what the coalface is, but I know you've had to. I recall 2 sticky notes from your CIO, right? At that value stream workshop, there were a couple soft spots, hot spots in the flow that kept coming up in conversation. And I look at those as kind of potential early wins, but go ahead and answer the question on your own. I don't need to.
Yeah. Well, value stream mapping has been really valuable because I mean, it's all intertwined here with our processes and lack of common tooling to map out a flow and then assign and identify delay times is so difficult. It's a manual process of trying to, and that process has opened people's eyes to, well, how do we demonstrate value if we can't measure it?
And you're talking about something different than the value stream art identification workshop?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Because not everybody here may know what you mean by value stream mapping.
Yeah.
Could you maybe just take a moment to talk about, I know you've led those sessions yourself.
Yeah, so getting a group of people together who work on a certain, I don't know, function, I guess is what we call it, and helping, facilitating a conversation. What is the trigger? What starts this process? And what is the value you deliver at the end? And identifying every step that happens along the way, as well as what are some pain points that are associated with those steps? Who are the people involved in those steps? Because again, now you're starting to get to visualize things and trying to understand where your bottlenecks are, where your delays are, so that you can identify opportunities for improvement.
So you have, going back to the how you measure value, you have a question here about how to do business value for the PI objectives. I know that in speaking to your business owner, that's what's being communicated, right? So those consolidated PI objectives, the mission for the art this quarter, that's what's being communicated up the chain. Is that going to be the primary measure of value, is accomplishing those objectives this first PI? How are you looking at that? How are you, fast forward 3 months from now, how are you going to articulate, hey, look, here's the value, here's how we've accelerated that happiness?
Yeah.
How are you planning on that?
Well, the PI objectives, definitely, having our business owner, assign the actual value gained, that measure of predictability for our teams will be very important. Also along the way, as we are solving our tooling issue, to be able to pull metrics from the teams around flow, that will be another measure of success, and the built-in quality, right? How many fixes do we need? That seems to be one of the big issues right now. So
awesome. We have a couple more questions here, then we'll spend a little bit of time on your stories from your first art launch, preparing for that, lessons learned, and advice you might have. We got one here. How long are you seeing adoption of safe taking, and are you seeing some acceleration of accepting and adopting safe?
Well, we started our journey on October, right? October, and we launched our first art last week. So it took us about 3 months to launch that art. Accelerating, we are seeing some acceleration, and I do think it's because we keep socializing what's happening around the organization. Oh, and I should also mention too, one of the many hats I wear in my role, I put together and publish a monthly newsletter to the entire IS&T organization that also gets circulated around executive leadership. And every month there is a standing article on the Scaling Agile update and keeping people informed about what's happening and what's going on, and offering for them to reach out to me with any questions. So the more you socialize what's going on and in small snippets, educate people so you aren't overwhelming them with all of the concepts, it prompts more questions and more engagement. We had a manager and above meeting for the IS&T organization yesterday. I gave a little update on the PI planning. These are our next steps. If we're looking to scale. If you're interested to learn, reach out to me. I had 3 emails before I even sat down. I've had some chats today. We have another area of the business, like I said, knocking on my door, and they're attending the Leading Safe training. This is a lead executive, and 4 of his staff are attending that next week. Like, we want our trains. So I just think that perhaps the pace of work and the firefighting that has happened here, and I call it whack-a-mole, people are looking to find some relief, and they're seeing the value in this framework to be able to provide that for them.
Well, I know you're teaching your first class Monday.
Well, maybe a small portion of it.
So you're not going to jump all in and teach it all yourself the first time
Well,
around?
I told you I got pulled into something. No, I don't want to do the whole thing.
Well, I was thinking about, your newsletter, and part of the people in that class are actually going to be individuals that aren't part of the art, aren't part of that value stream. They're actually other parts of the organization that are curious.
Mm-hmm.
A couple other questions here. One person in the audience, they have several business owners for the art. Might be one business owner per feature. So they're having a struggle doing business value for the PI objectives. I'll jump in on that one first. And wow, that's a lot of whip and a lot of, how do you herd that cat? Because you may end up, how many features do you have coming into PI planning? If you've got 100 features coming in, which is interestingly enough, a fairly common challenge that a lot of people have when they first get started, is that they're used to writing features for a team. And when those teams aren't all set up around value, it can really be tough. Anything that you might think of that you could offer as an idea? Imagine if you had more business owners involved. Any tips you might have?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I can offer too much there, because what we actually identified is we did not identify all the business owners we should have leading into this. We had many conversations about it, and because of the complexity of our need and how our teams are structured, we just never got to that, and we did commit to the forcing function of launching our art. So fully knowing that everything would not be perfect. So that is actually one of our steps that we're going through right now, is identifying those additional business owners. And fortunately, the business owner we have is a legacy type staff member, the VP. He knew so much about everything that was happening that he was able to provide really good perspective. But I know he pulled Brett into our CIO into a couple of those to discuss, as well as Gary, one of the other VPs. So I'm not sure I have a ton to offer on that, because we're crossing that bridge in our next PI planning.
I'll share a technique. I'll share a technique with you that you've kind of already been set up for. And for me personally, what I found is that I don't like surprising executives, and I don't want to. I don't like it. It doesn't feel good when a team's plan gets blown out of the water during the draft plan review or the final plan review. So I work really hard to encourage our clients and those that I mentor to have optimize your PI planning event for more collaboration time, which means expand those team breakouts and have the business owners circulate. So imagine if you've got 10 business owners and you've got 10 teams. During that breakout period, as the PI planning, as PI planning is occurring on day one, and you're starting to get PI objectives forming, imagine if you're wandering around from team to team, you're going to see 3 PI objectives. Well, as a business owner for Team Jigglypuff here, you don't care about any of those. So you move on to the next team, right? So you may end up having, 10 teams, you've got 30 or 40 PI objectives. Of those, how many do you care about? What I found is score the ones that you care about. And if somebody comes along and cares about the same one, you have a conversation. Otherwise, those people are canvassing all the team breakouts and you're getting business value assigned to all of them. I've had situations where people put, the business owner will put their initials next to it. So the other person knows, hey, this is one where Joe's was on this, or Marcus or Susie or whatever, right? And so that's just one thing one thread you might pull for that. Lots of questions today. You're a rock star here sharing this. I'm so thankful that you're on here because you're in the midst of it. I have a different perspective, and we talked about multiple perspectives here. So this question here, I don't think you've encountered it yet, but it may be one that you're going to encounter. So what are the challenges you resolved when there was a pushback to adopt new ways of portfolio management from traditional management? They're transfixed how to meet demand to capacity, for example.
Yes, we are. We have not implemented lean portfolio management. There's interest in that space. And I think baby steps is where they're at right now in terms of moving towards that. I will say that words matter, language matters. We just had this conversation this morning. When you talk about, and this is where it's important not to get into the weeds, because I went there yesterday and it was like, oof, my bad, I shouldn't have done that. When you're talking about planning the iterations and calculating your capacity and your load, very traditional mindsets will be like, well, what do you mean you're only planning 80% of what your capacity is? And there's this perception that they're going to sit around twiddling their thumbs for 20% of their time. So words matter, language matters. And so in retrospect, I would have said something around more high level. There's a way that we calculate and allocate so that teams can work at full capacity.
Yeah, I know capacity allocation. That was part of the question, right? So your teams, many of the teams are doing a lot of support and maintenance work, right? You've got customers that need changes daily sometimes. Yep. And so not all of your teams are Scrum teams. Some of them are focused on flow with Kanban. Yep. Do you remember how capacity allocation came into play with PI planning? Were all the teams at 100%?
No, like 50%. Yeah, because of the way we are structured organizationally, right? And so again, you have to be flexible and operate with and meet people where they are. We got to meet us where we're at. Now, is it the ideal structure organizationally? Probably not. Will we realize that and maybe make some changes around that? I foresee that we will. And not forcing the issue is how you're going to lead people to come with you versus having them oppose you.
And then another question we have here, what are the metrics you're planning to measure? When you think about that, I know you and I have talked about competency, outcomes, and flow. Are there any that come to mind for you?
Well, I think that the biggies are we're going to be doing the self-assessments, right? And so we'll be able to measure improvement by using those assessments. We definitely want to get anecdotal type measures from our customers. Like, are we getting fewer complaints? Are we getting more praise around delivery? Along with flow and quite honestly, one of the other measures of success for us will be employee engagement.
I know you've got some. I know that you were faced with a challenge that many people are faced with, which is we don't have HR roles for product owners and RTEs and Scrum Masters and product owners. What the heck do we do? How did you tackle that initially?
Initially, yeah, we're in the midst of it right now. What we did initially is really had some quality conversations with leaders around the attributes of the and characteristics of what you're looking for in a product owner, in a Scrum Master, in an RTE, and then letting them have some conversations about who in their organizations fits that bill and would they think would be successful. And then what was key is to invite them in to that role via conversation versus assigning it to them. We have a pretty unique situation where now they're almost working 2 jobs at the same time. And so interestingly, they are willing to do that right now because they see the potential, the benefits, and just constantly communicating with them that we are working with HR. We are working with HR to come up with solutions to offer you. And in the meantime, we did offer them spot bonuses as a thank you for going above and beyond.
That's pretty cool. I got to say that, for those of you that followed me on my journey, I talk a lot about, the personal side of things, right? They're the things that you don't see on paper. And you mentioned attributes, right? Those characteristics, right? So, product owners and product managers with curiosity, yep. Right? RTEs that don't feel like they need to be in the limelight all the time, right? There's a lot of attributes, and you definitely, I'll give you kudos there for finding individuals. And I think that's kind of a holistic piece that, as an outside observer, that I view when I think about people starting a safe journey, or to find a new way of working. Leading indicators are that level of engagement, not just support you get. Anything you want to share about preparing for your first art launch? I know it's nerve-wracking. I know that the primary coach working with you sent me a nastygram for pushing you to launch at the end of January, as opposed to pushing it out to February sometime. But you did it, and it worked.
It did. And lessons learned, right? Definitely take a look at your business cycles. When big important things happen in your business. For us, open enrollment was going on and it really stressed people out. And so in retrospect, not the best time for us to have done this. So again, kudos to our people for stepping up to the challenge. Kudos to our leaders for supporting them in doing that. Definitely, I prefer in person. And this is going to be, I think, a hurdle that many of us are going to be facing in this, new remote world since the pandemic. Is many people enjoy working from home and remote work and would prefer that. So trying to balance that is going to continue to be a challenge for us, quite honestly. So how we manage that, stay tuned. I'm not sure how we'll manage that going forward, but if you don't have the partners like I did with you all at Applied Frameworks, just you've got to stick to that preparation list. You have to, you know, be on top of that and be organized and map it out, so that it feels seamless. You'll be exhausted, and you will feel, well, I shouldn't say will, you may feel really frustrated, and for me, disappointed when you've invested all of this into this fantastic opportunity for people and then they complain. So
There's only a couple people.
wear your armor. Wear your armor.
Wear your armor. Yeah, you can't please everybody. You know, it was interesting. I got to say that personally, it was. I missed the sound of 100 people collaborating that we had before the ice storm hit. And you know, what are your thoughts on individuals that might want to skip Safe for Teams? Because it's an investment doing, you know, getting 100 people into a training class for 2 days.
Oh, you're just not going to be as efficient and effective in your planning if you don't do that with those teams first, because even them having done that for 2 days, there was still a lot of confusion with what they were doing during the PI planning. And I'll tell you, some of the feedback that we got from our leaders, our executives, was how valuable it was to have what they called a coach. So in each one of those groups, helping to facilitate those people with the tasks at hand. So I would say don't try to do it single-handed as a one-person show, because I'm not sure you will get the best outcomes that you could get.
So we got one last question. I'd like to invite Laura back. And I know she's been in the background there. Laura back. She may have a question of her own, but first we've got one from our last one from the audience. Will a Scrum Master could be considered as transformation leader, or could he or she lead the transformation? And I think this is from a career pathing perspective, I would imagine.
Yeah, why not? I mean, we, you know, as a change agent and a leader of change, you know, engaging support, right? Soliciting and enlisting support for that change. As a Scrum Master, if you can get people in your camp to help support you to lead a transformation, I would say, why not? So
thanks so much, Angie. Laura, do you have a final question? I know you've been listening in, knowing you. So Laura's an SPC as well. And any question pop up on your mind?
Well, Angie, are there any surprising partnerships that you created with people internally that really helped you either accelerate or helped you gain other support that you needed that you maybe didn't think of ahead of time, right? Like whether it's with roles or with particular leaders or with
picking an RTE?
Well, as a surprise, well, she's a rock star. I mean, we, yeah,
I kind of on the spot with that one, and I apologize for that. But one of the things that I'm recognizing that really has aided your success is that you've spread a very wide net. Like you didn't restrict your thinking around who can help you accelerate, and maybe sometimes people try to be too precise on who they want in and who they want out. And I think you approached it differently. Like you were open to anyone who wanted to lean in, even if they weren't obviously the kind of role that you would have initially gone to go recruit, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, so with our transformation team, yeah, we cast that net really wide. And again, it's about building those relationships, socializing the framework and the benefits of the framework. Because if you can cast your net wide to begin with, the acceleration of spread is going to be much quicker, right? Because then this person tells these people, and these people tell these people, these people tell these people, and it really actually models breaking down those silos, right? Because if you're only going to invite people from your silo into this transformation, it's maybe not necessarily walking the talk, so to speak.
And right now, you're the only SPC at Arkansas Blue Cross Blue Shield.
I
know that you speak, you know, you got increased demand and casting a wide net. So are you out there looking for new SPCs, people that could go into the class and have that mindset?
Yes, our staff meeting this morning, I announced that to all of my colleagues that I will be sending you a list of characteristics and attributes. And I would like you to think about people within your span of control who may fit that bill, and then have some conversations with them to investigate if they would be interested in pursuing this. And we had some
That's
good talks
awesome.
about what it could mean for them. What does it mean for them? Because that will be the question. Will I make more money? Well, maybe down the road, but right now,
Is that why you want to? Is that why you want to do it?
yeah, no. No, you want to impact change, and you want to make life better for folks. And that's my perspective. Is I see the people like frantic. And one of the benefits I didn't get to share this earlier, that I saw from our associates doing the work who are on these agile teams, is they finally had an excitement and a sense of purpose because they understood how their work connected to our organizational objectives and initiatives and imperatives. And that's something that I think that is missing in a lot of organizations. And so people will lean in and become more engaged. And that's why that's one of our big metrics. Once you start connecting those dots for them.
Fantastic. I just want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule.
Sure.
This is, for those of you watching, this is where I want to take this SPC Journey series, to get more people like Angie to share their thoughts and their insights from the real world. I've got webinars I do myself where you can hear me blah, 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 but this is about highlighting those people out there as SPCs or those that hire them or partner with them are doing. So Laura, any parting words, or Angie?
No, for me, I just grateful, and it's so much fun to work with you, Angie, because this energy that you bring to the change, right? It's like leading change. In some ways you're a natural, and in other ways I know you're a natural because you put a lot of work in to think this through carefully. So I applaud you. I think it's been a great journey so far.
Yeah, well, and what I love too, Laura, is that you all say that I'm a natural, and I have zero technical expertise. So
When you come back and give us an
anybody can be a great SPC, right, Angie?
anybody can do it. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
We will have you back on a future session. So thank you so much, everybody. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next month. Look for a notice about next month's topic. We've got some pretty cool people already signed up. So thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.